You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
So you can't actually hear me talking while my mic is muted, which is a thing that I do about 5 times a week, just so you know. Part of this is because I had a chicken sandwich for lunch. It's not really agreeing with me at the moment. And part of this is because there were a lot of spiders in our books. And the way Jay feels about fish people, I feel about spiders. So I'm all off kilter. It's been a very bad day for producer Kyle in terms of just feeling feels. But it's in stores this week, so we're going to talk about new books that are in stores this week. Sean is here because apparently, I don't know, his job doesn't like him enough to have him work today. I don't know how that goes. But he's here too, so we're going to get into the new books that are in stores this week here in just a second after I find and then click on the correct button to play the opener for in stores this week, which doesn't seem to be where I remember it having been.
Shared it right before we got started. And Dan's just crocheting.
Sorry, I'm fighting off heartburn.
Oh, goodness.
Oh.
So am I. When you have serrano pepper and cheese deer sausage, it burns.
Well, sure. You had spicy stuff.
Yeah.
I had a McChicken.
A spicy McChicken?
No.
It's regular. Sucks getting old.
So it's a McRippin'. Got it.
It's a Mick gonna kill me. Dan, are you still crocheting the dice bag?
Yep.
Are you going to buy the announced today and almost instantly sold out, but there will be more on Fridays, Arby's themed D&D dice?
Hadn't even heard about them.
Arby's posted on their social media, and they've done this a few times over the last several years where they've done like what do you call them? Arby's themed products. Like you could buy an Arby's sweatsuit.
Yeah.
That just looks like roast beef, like Lady Gaga's meat dress if it was roast beef and a sweatsuit. But they had a dice tower that looked like a thing of curly fries a few years
I remember that one.
This year they announced dice, like a full gaming dice set, sold out in about 2.5 minutes.
You think they would have put that out the week Dungeons and Dragons was in theaters?
You would think, but I think it has to do with the time of year Arby's was founded. Yeah.
Anybody else seen the Green Lantern comics that they're releasing where it's foil covers that are all the different Lantern cores that you can get? You can get individually or you can buy the whole set. It's from a place called...
When you get them together, can you put stuff on them and then stick them in the oven and cook it?
But yeah, it's from a store called Big Time Collectibles. They shared it, and you can literally get the whole thing. You can get them graded or just regular. So now I have to decide which Lantern core I'm going to get.
I'd be just as likely to buy an actual Green Lantern. But, you know.
Or, if you're trying to figure out which one you desire, it has to be orange.
Dan isn't wrong.
It's the nature of the core.
Jay's blue.
All of them.
So, all right, let's get into it, shall we?
It's coming along.
Yeah.
Has a good bottom on it, so it's nice.
What I need is a dice box, a dice, to roll in that isn't solid so that I can put it in my book bag and not crush other things with it.
Oh, I have some. They're trays with snaps on the side so it goes flat. And then when you use it, just
Yep.
I just gotta man up and buy one. All right. Let's get started with the first spider book. If you didn't know it was a spider book, it's called All 8 Eyes. What else has 8 eyes?
Yeah, exactly.
Aliens.
This, I was just like, spiders. Why with the spiders this week? I'm not going to sleep well tonight. I did think this was a solid first issue. Kind of just drops you in. Not a ton of build up to it. I enjoyed it, but it will give me nightmares tonight. I already know. The journal pages at the end of this are really cool. The art kind of fits with it, so it wasn't too bad there. I'm kind of interested to see where this goes because it's kind of I don't know. It's a weird. It feels like they see it. It is real, but the homeless guy talks about other people know about it. They just don't want to believe that it's real. But it seems like a really cool story. Like, it's really interesting.
I like the art, Peter Kowalski. Yeah, I have always enjoyed his work. I thought it was a surprisingly interesting concept. I didn't get to do a deep read into it, but I did a quick scan of it, and I kind of liked it. I'm kind of curious where they're going with this. So, but I didn't read it deep enough that I would actually have nightmares.
Oh no, I did. We'll have them for you. I'll echo Jay's sentiments. Solid first issue. Like the art, it fits. Of course, it's got that Dark Horse vibe that we all know and love. Just I don't know what else to say other than it's just a good, solid opening issue. Check it out if you don't mind having nightmares for a couple weeks. And like Jay said, the journal entries were cool because you can kind of see where the guy's been, and maybe it might give you an idea of where the story will go if they do one of those Easter egg things in there. So definitely don't skip out on that part. It's actually some of the best part of the book.
I'm gonna be the other guy on this one, and this I need more out of this first issue. Telling me there are giant spiders that are a secret cabal to control the world isn't enough in the grand scheme of things to make me interested. For me, at least, it felt like it was like, okay, just believe this thing and go with it. Like, it would have been different if they would have said, oh, this is the results of a lab like he says in the book, I don't know where they come from. They could be XYZ things. It would have been different if this was a lab accident went wrong in the 60s, and since then this has been a problem. Right? Like, give me a reason to accept the idea that there are giant spiders we don't see. Because I'm a guy who recognizes there's a spider in that corner of my office right now that I need to deal with the vacuum cleaner and a 10-foot pole.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you it's not giant. So, it just, there's not enough here to get me to suspend the reality that people are scared of spiders. So anytime you see a spider, you're going to clock it. That was my problem.
Are you still doing the music thing?
I am, but I haven't in a couple of weeks just because with all the filling in I've been doing for other shows, I just haven't had time.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Dangerous Toys. I like being scared.
That's fair. I was also thinking Rockwell's I Always Feel Like Somebody's Watching Me. Because all 8 eyes. But, All right. Order and Outrage number 2.
I don't get this book. I want to. I like Jim Starlin. I like Rags Morales. Just something about it I mean, I started caring about the little girl with the weird looking guy taking care of her, but that didn't really go far. And then I don't know what the hell was going on with that other thing, with the women, the people in the space station. I feel like there needs to be something more to this book. You know, it seems to be all set up for 2 issues. By the way, Eddie's choice of Boris the Spider for the last book would also be good.
Nice. Yeah, I'm with Dan. I will say that this issue at least made more sense than the first one, because you can at least see where the 2 timelines in the book actually connect in a way, because it's showing the girl as a child and then up to whatever the current ish situation is. The wording was weird. I'm guessing that the next issue is going to start right after how the book ended, and it's going to be current. That said, though, sure, it might have moved the story in a direction, but to where? It's kind of hard to care about what's going on when you don't really know what is going on, and that's my biggest problem with this series so far.
See, for me, this is why it's great to have multiple people read the same issue of something, because I liked the first issue, but I found this issue much easier to follow and get into. The jumping back and forth worked better, and the story felt a little more coherent. The art is still gorgeous. That's one thing I can say about this book. The art is gorgeous in this. I trust Jim Starlin. If you weren't, I would tell people out there, if you weren't that into issue 1, give this one a go. It might change your mind. It to me, it has kind of a, if anybody remembers the movie Gattaca, there's a term that they say called a borrowed ladder, and it kind of has that feel to it. It's a Gattaca borrowed ladder in space. I don't know. The book works for me. It works for me. So hopefully the next issue will be a little bit tighter. But it worked for me. I liked it.
I missed this one in the folder. If I'm being honest, though, after having read the first one twice, I'm pretty sure there was nothing here for me. Unless this is a 90-degree turn from the first issue, there was nothing after that first issue that really wanted me to keep reading. So, like I said, I missed this one in the folder. I don't know how. But, read at your own risk, I guess. It's Jim Starlin, so might blow your mind, might make you angry. The next book, though, I didn't miss in the folder because, my God, the only thing that there were more of in this book than boobs was arms. So many arms in this book. Also spiders.
That's the first note I made. I was like, more spiders, yay! This was an okayish story, but man, I am not an art snob by any means. But even I noticed the art in this book is just so inconsistent and just pulls me out, because there are times when you look at Deja and she is a weird, like, box looking shape with, like, it's just, I don't know. I wish that this book, I wish the interior art matched this cover art. Because, man, it's an okay story, but when the art pulls me out of it, it might be for somebody, but it's definitely not for me.
I'm with you. I really want to like this book, but the art just is not clicking for me at all. And I'm not sure how to get around that, So.
Yeah, it felt to me, I liked the first issue. I really did. You don't get Deja Thoris all that often. So when you do, and it's good, you remember it.
Yeah.
Which isn't something I can always say for my brain. But it feels like maybe the artist forgot to do the art, and their editor was calling him up, going, "Hey, where's my pages?" And they went, "Oh crap, here," and just sent like roughs, and they published it. Like, if you had sent that to me as an editor and said, "Hey, we're gonna finish this, but here's our roughs, here's kind of our storyboarding," I just said, "Great, let me see it when it's done," But that's not it. There's never an excuse for Deja Thoris not to be sexy,
Right.
and she wasn't. What are you even doing if Deja Thoris isn't the hottest thing in your universe? And so for me, it didn't matter if the story was good or not. It could have been the next Killing Joke. And it was terrible because the art was awful.
Yeah, we're going to go 4 for 4 on that one. I will definitely say, though, that I thought the first issue was terrible. Didn't like anything about it, including the art. This issue, at the very least, I thought the story actually wasn't that bad and where they took it. But again, the art completely took me out of everything. I mean, other than just Deja looking so inconsistent from panel to panel, everything else too. I mean, the most detailed thing that was consistent might have been actually the spiders. I don't know if that was on purpose, maybe for Jay and Kyle's sake, but everything else in the book was just so wildly inconsistent. And I want to like this because I've never read Deja Thoris, so this is kind of my first experience in that whole Deja Thoris. What is it, John Carter of Mars type universe, and I want to get into it so bad because I thought the movie was really good.
All right, let's move on.
There we go.
Yet another book with spiders.
And yeah.
It was just little tiny spiders in this one.
Archie's in it.
It's too many spiders, Dan.
Yeah.
One spiders is too many spiders.
This one has 2 because you have a regular spider, then you have Archie the spider.
Right.
That's true.
Amanda Dibert is just doing such a great job on this book.
Yes.
Just the feel like the old TV series. And Carlo Laura, his art is just spot on. I mean, it's the exact opposite about what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
This book is fun. It's silly. And it hits all that nostalgia notes. The only thing that could be better is if somehow they figured out a way to, how they have those greeting cards you open up and they play a little song. If they could put that in so you'd hear the theme for Darkwing Duck when you open it, then I'd be, oh my God.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, this book was nice to read after going from Deja Thoris because I purposely read this right after because I needed to cheer myself up. This book is so fun, and he probably had his best intro yet coming out in the suit. It's his longest one for sure, but it was so good. I laughed out loud pretty good for that one. What can I say? This is just the most fun you can have reading a comic right now. It's kind of like that Sonic book for us a couple months back. Mm-hmm. This has that, but it's even more fun because you can really relate to everything especially if you've watched the cartoon.
Yeah, definitely. I love this series. It's fun. It's palate cleansing. So far, it's like they used unused scripts to make these issues. Like every issue so far could have been an episode. I really want to see this story to get to a point where we introduce the Justice Ducks and the Fearsome Five, and we just have a storyline like that. I'm always happy when I see this book on the list. Always happy. If you haven't yet, you really should pick this book up.
Yeah, we need Amanda to dive into DuckTales next.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say this, and I know that it's gonna sound mean, but if this was one of those cards that played music when you opened it, Nick would make it one of those cards that plays music once you open it that doesn't shut off ever until you destroy the card and throw it away. Not because that's a bad thing, but because it would just provide a soundtrack for the whole reading experience. Because I don't think I would hate it. Like, it would be bad. I would be angry after I read the book, but the whole time I'm reading the book, giant, stupid grin on my face. So just know that that's how that would go. This was a lot of fun. I love the little family thing that they're doing with, you know, with this story. The one, I guess, sort of thing I wish was happening was a little more through line, issue to issue. I recognize that the show was all standalone episodes. It wasn't like an overarching series arc. But I feel like if this had some through line issue to issue, it would tell us where we're at in the series run. It doesn't have to be something big, just something little.
Well, I thought he retired last issue, and now he's unretiring.
Right, but that's not. I'm talking just a little something in the background, a little something small. They're building up to the wedding or something that he's trying, you know, and you know your payoff is going to be him having to come out of retirement at a wedding, you know, something small, just to be like, okay, we're moving in time. That's the only thing I wish there was a little more of, but that's, I mean, really, really nitpicky in a book that doesn't need me to nitpick it too much. So, all right. Let's go to the Expanse Dragon Tooth. I have several questions for those of you who have seen or follow the Expanse.
Yes.
What is it?
The Expanse is a sci-fi series that basically it's about the people in the asteroid belt between Earth and Mars. They're called Belters, and they've never lived on an actual planet. They're raised on there, and the actual book series and the TV series is about this murder that takes place between the ship, the crew full of people, and a ex-cop or a detective who's trying to solve the case. This is kind of an expanding of the universe. This is post the war between Earth and Mars. They're fighting over limited resources. So,
okay, all of that needs to be on page 1. I haven't read the book, haven't seen the show. I'm aware it's a thing that exists. That's the extent of my Expanse knowledge. And going into this book with that knowledge, I just spent the whole time going, what the hell? I don't, what? Huh? The whole book. This is not something I would read if Dan didn't put it in the server. It's not something I would even consider reading. Because I know that you have to have a base knowledge in that world, right? To be able to fully understand what's happening. And so as a result, I felt like, you ever walk up to people in the middle of a conversation and expect to know what's going on? Mm-hmm. Or join a show like this in the middle and expect to know what's going on? Yeah. That was this series. Hard pass for me.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely needed to do a little better job of building up the thing. And some of what they're talking about is actually from a previous Expanse comic series. So they don't even recap that. So from that point of view, I agree they didn't do a very good job. Story-wise itself and the writing of the characters and stuff, I thought that was good. If you're a fan of The Expanse, I think it picks up nicely. You know, I've only read like 1 or 2 of the novels, and I haven't caught the latest seasons on Netflix, but I was pretty caught up with the sci-fi show. And like I said, it was pretty easy for me to follow along. I think what's funny is the author of the book, James S.A. Covey, I think it is, doesn't exist. He's two writers that use a collective name. So it's two authors that write the book.
What's the name of that director that people put on the movies that they don't want to take credit for?
Alan Smithy, and they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, they should do that for this.
Mm-hmm. You know why they don't do Alan Smithy anymore?
Because there's an actual Alan Smithy?
Nope, the movie Burn, Hollywood, Burn.
Ah, that's fair.
It became so known that they stopped doing it.
Mm.
Go ahead,
They
Sean.
just quit.
So I'm like Kyle. I know absolutely nothing about the Expanse. That said, I actually still kind of enjoyed this book, even being fairly lost as to what was actually going on previously to the start of the series. But I liked it, especially art-wise. I love sci-fi stuff, so when I get a decently drawn sci-fi book like this is, I tend to enjoy it. Although there were a couple of panels, maybe Jay will agree with me or Dan, when they're coming on to the station and they're floating in, Nico's body in one of the panels looks really funky for some reason. That was the one part to me that was a little bit of a throw off. But other than that, I actually thought it was a pretty cool book. It seems like they're doing a bit of a mystery kind of story with it. So color me intrigued. I want to see what's going on in issue 2.
Yeah, it's definitely a sci-fi mystery series. It's what they do, yeah.
Thomas Jane and that guy that's been in a bunch of movies and I never remember his name. That's literally my knowledge about this show. I know that it's a show, and I know part of the cast. Never watched it. I will say this though: the book does a decent job of making the characters look like their show counterparts. Like some of the characters in the book look just like the characters on the show. That being said, this was a hard read for me. Mainly because there's certain parts where it just feels like made up space jargon, and I was very confused by it. I don't know. Maybe watching the show would have helped me out, but book's not for me. It's not for me.
John says he loves Tom Jane. I'll have to tell you my lunch with Tom Jane story sometime, John.
Yeah.
How's now, Dan?
All right. I got to know Tom Jane through Steve Niles and Tim Bradstreet and stuff like that. At San Diego Con one year, IDW asked me to be his guide through the different, to get him to panels and stuff. So I got to know him pretty well. But we had a meeting one time with a video game company, Steve, myself, and Tom, and we met at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And Tom decides everybody needs to have oysters. So he orders this big thing of oysters for the table. I've never eaten oysters at that point. Know nothing about them. Not even sure how to eat them. Not a fish guy. So Steve is like being quiet and showing me how to, take it off the shell, stuff like that. But we're having this meeting, and Tom is very gregarious, very loud, yells across the restaurant for another martini. And we get to the thing where there's one oyster left. And it's got like a ton of horseradish on top of it. And he just grabs it and slurps it up. Not even quietly, just as loud as you possibly could. It sits in his mouth for maybe 2 seconds. And he spits it back out into the center of the table. Looks over at me directly and goes, "That's the thing about oysters. If they taste even a little bit off, just spit them right out. I'm thinking, in a napkin, maybe? Something? So, yeah, I met the first time I met him was actually with Ben Templesmith before he did Punisher. He and Ben were talking, and I came up to talk to Ben. Next thing I know, I'm in a three-way conversation, and he's defending the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie. And I'm in the middle of a party, and I look down, and he's not wearing shoes.
Yeah, that's the thing that always freaks me out about him.
Yeah.
Wear shoes, bro.
That's awesome.
That's how people
great.
get tetanus.
He's great, but he's very...
And he isn't wrong, by the way. If your oysters taste off, just spit them out.
Yep.
Don't be a hero.
Yeah.
That's how you wind up with food poisoning.
I then had to stop him from trying to cut the end of a cigar with a pocket knife. Like, no, I've got a cutter in my truck. It's right here. Hang on.
I thought Kyle was going to say he's not wrong about the Dolph Lundgren Punisher.
No, he's not wrong about oysters. If you don't know how to eat oysters, don't be a hero trying to eat oysters. Okay.
I love Tom, but yeah, I've had some funny moments with him.
That's fantastic, and it's like my favorite Tom Jane story. And I have some from people who worked with him on 42, or not 42, on 61.
Mm-hmm.
The Roger Maris movie.
Yeah.
What is happening on the Dan Wickline show this week?
Tomorrow we are going to talk about WandaVision. I did a rewatch of that, and we're going to break down some of the things, some of the open questions we still have, stuff like that, because that show got kind of changed because of the pandemic and stuff, and there's some major unanswered questions there. And then on Thursday, we are going to talk about the Mandalorian season finale.
I'm excited to start The Mandalorian on Friday.
Just binge it.
Well, I don't know if I've talked about this on this show or with you guys. I made a specific decision to not watch it until I could binge it because I'd only ever binged it. And I'm struggling with shows that I know is bingeable shows that excuse me, that aren't bingeable. I'm finding myself not liking things I would normally like because I'm having to wait a week.
See, I'm actually liking shows better that I have to wait for.
Well, and like if I know the show is something I have to wait for, I don't mind it. So like it's just for whatever reason in my brain, it just isn't jiving. So I decided on The Mandalorian specifically to wait. I'll try it on something else. Jay and Sean, what's happening inside the triangle this week?
What
I don't know that I can outline a triangle accurately with my finger.
Yeah. So Jay forgot to put his short up for today.
Yeah, because Jay thought you were going to put it up.
Anyway, excuses. I am going to dive into Star Trek and talk about my favorite captains of all time. And hint, James Kirk is not my favorite. I'm just going to put that out there right now.
It's
maybe
Archer,
because,
isn't it? You're an Archer fan. You're an Archer fan.
No.
Is it Cisco?
No.
Wow.
No. It's just, and a lot of this sparked because Star Trek Picard season 3 has been so good for me. And I'm probably going to do a review of that once that finale happens this Thursday. Jay's got a short coming out. He's got several Superman videos coming, talking about you got the animated shows,
the animated movies, and then it's going to be a little bit random. We have a plan and it's written down and it's not in front of me. So outside of the Star Trek and a couple of the shorts that we've started doing, that's basically going to be it. Speaking of Dan and Kyle, the way we're doing the shorts is we're doing suggestions that are just anything comic based, a book, past or present, movie, video games. If you've got a suggestion right now, I will write it down and I will use it.
Or what?
Like we do a short where we'll suggest two things, like a current comic or a past one, or a movie and an indie comic, something like that. If you've got a couple of things that you want to suggest.
All right, here's a short for you. Okay. Why I Hate Fish People, the Jay Burns story.
Okay.
Two of my favorite DC graphic novels, well, collections. Green Arrow Quiver and Adam Strange Planet Heist.
Dan, I just picked up a complete quadruple signed set of Quiver. The only signature that's not on them is Kevin Smith. And he will be at Astronomicon in June, and they're on their way as we speak to the shop that's doing the private signing with him so that they can be signed and be completely signed.
So Phil Hester, Andy Parks. Who's the fourth? Who's the other name?
You're going to make me remember, aren't you?
Part of asking the question, yes.
Yeah, no, I bought the series pre-signed, so I didn't get them signed. Phil Hester, Andy Parks, Guy Major, and Matt Wagner.
Okay, Wagner did the covers.
Yes.
Guy Major, he was a colorist, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
There's the letterer isn't on there, but I have no chance of getting the letterer. So
Eddie, look on HBO Max. Superman Red Sun's on there.
So on my thing, I'm going to do it this way. This is what I have coming up. Starting Monday, the Devil's Advocates, myself and Bronze Age Nerd will be here on the Experience, doing a show that's kind of like Crossfire, kind of like Point Counterpoint, kind of like two angry nerds yelling at each other through a computer. That will be here on Monday nights at 9:00, and tonight at 8:00, I'm filling in for Mint Hunter, doing a very minty pancakes episode of Hot Takes, where we'll be doing a little bit of an unboxing and a little bit of a talk about something that's happening in the comic industry. It's got me really fired up right now. So we'll be talking about that. So tune in for those things. Pat, it's not like Capital Beat. It's like any of the other shows that they reference on that show. Taylor Reed.
I'm a little sad that we're going to be putting the pancakes to rest, though.
Just temporarily. That show will eventually come back at another day and time. But we're going to take it slow, bringing it back to find the best place for it in the schedule of the network. It'd be really easy for me just to slap it on somewhere because I control the schedule, but that wouldn't be good for some of the things we have working. Several shows we're working on, including what I hope to be another sales show for Tuesday nights following Mint Hunter. But, things take time.
So you're going to do my crocheting sales show at the on Tuesday nights now.
You're already on the air enough hours, Dan, and I don't want you getting DVT. So I'm thinking we'll do that like on the weekend in bed with Dan, like shoes sitting in bed, crocheting.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, God. You got me on that.
Wickline 24/7, man.
It's true. No, I'm working on a new book sales show. So we'll talk about that more as it comes. All right, let's get back into it. Harrower number 3.
Yes.
I don't think I read number 2. I think that was the night I took off. But I gotta say, don't feel I missed much. And this was a really good episode.
Oh, yeah.
Or issue, and I kind of like where it's going now, especially the ending. I was like, oh, I see what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, do you want me to recap issue 2 for you?
No, I'm good.
I can do it in 2 words or 3 words.
Okay.
It's all disembowelment.
Yep.
It's the whole book.
Those are 3 words.
Right, I said 3.
You
Because
said
I
3.
realized that I needed the it's. So it's 3 words. It's all disembowelment.
Could have done it in 1 word. Yeah. Disembowelorama.
You know that's fair.
Yeah, this was issue 3 did exactly what I said it needed to do after reading issue 2, which was it needed to take the story forward in a way to explain the Harrower a little bit. They did that. So now it's kind of like, oh, now let's find out how screwed up this little town actually is. Again, this book is fantastic. The gore in it is spot on. Now with this little twist that they've introduced, it's infinitely more interesting. So I want to know what we're going to get in issue 4, and I'm curious if issue 4 is the wrap up or if there's going to be more or not. I don't know how many issues are actually solicited for this one, but I am excited for the next issue.
Just 4.
Okay.
So you know that.
Okay.
But
Man, just what? This book is incredible. Sorry, not sorry, but this and Where Monsters Lie have got to be 2 of the best slasher books I've read in a long time. I have so many questions after this issue, but they're like, I'm excited and want to know more kind of questions, not what the hell is going on questions. Like, they're good questions that I have. This just gets better for me each issue, and I cannot wait to see how they're going to end this.
well, just 4 for now, John. They may say, well, this book did really well. Let's do 12 more. But right now, it's just 4 issues, which I think is fine. I think the reality we're coming to out of the end of the 3rd issue is that whatever this is needs to reset. It doesn't happen constantly. Right? Whatever this Harrower story winds up having been, resets and needs to reconfigure. And you kind of learn that in this issue, right? There's some stuff, man, and some things happening. To me, this feels a lot like The Lottery or one of those, old plays or that scene in American Gods where they realize that they've been putting kids in the trunks of cars and sinking cars into the lake.
I haven't got there yet, man.
Spoilers if you haven't read American Gods, I suppose. Like that this is some sort of more big thing that it needs to be dealt with. So I like it, but I don't know that 4 issues is going to be enough. I think there probably has to be a second volume kind of explaining where we go from here. There was something about this book that left me wanting more from this book, but I can't really put my finger on it. Like, is the Harrower a robot?
No.
Why are there so many faces? Like, there's a number of things I need to know that they're going to have to answer in number 4, but I wish they would have alluded to it in issue 3.
I think they're finding the next Harrower.
Right, but like, how did they become so good at the killing? Like, do they train the Harrower? Is there like Harrower boot camp?
No, they just take a stab at it.
Oh,
this feels like it could be a little bit of like the Scream universe in the way they have the multiple killers come back. It feels like they could do that if they really wanted to keep doing this in different volumes.
To be honest, what I thought was going on was the person who sets up the murders for the Harrower becomes the next Harrower until the things that happen in this book. Kind of like a Sith and an apprentice kind of situation. But then whatever happens in this book happens in this book, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it yet. I just have so many questions. I'm ready to learn more. I'm ready. And I gotta wait.
Grim Fairy Tales Quarterly.
That's a horrible cover.
Heart's Desire. It's the only cover that I have access to at the moment, Dan.
So I'm waiting for Kyle to say too many pages, but
I'm gonna be real honest with you. I skimmed it so fast because I knew how I felt a page and a half in that I don't remember how many pages of content this 72 pages of content is too many content book is.
I actually didn't think this was that bad, though. I mean, it literally was not that bad for me. It was actually surprisingly consistent art-wise throughout the 72 pages, which was probably the biggest shocker. I thought the second story that they were telling was probably my favorite one of the bunch. But I mean, overall, it actually really is not that bad of a read. It was a fairly generic story, but I still enjoyed it. So definitely worth a pick up if you're a Zenescope person.
I'd like to take the 5th.
Ooh.
Okay, that's okay. We're going to be.
Dan got to work with these people at some point, probably. So, yeah, I'm good with that.
Well, look, it's going to be 50-50 because this is the Zenescope that I actually enjoy. I really dug this one. I was only going to skim it, but then the stories they pulled me in, and before I knew it, it was done. Art's great. How the stories connected were great. I like how it had the one theme. I need more of this and a little bit less of the superhero type universe they were trying to build. I would say if you're a fan of the old school, twisted storytelling style of Zenescope, I think you'll enjoy this one. Unless you're a writer for him like Dan was, then probably maybe not.
Wasn't for me. Just wasn't. If we have to vote with our dollars, wanting $8.99 for this book is $7.99 too many dollars. Especially with this was the only cover art that I was able to pull up today. Not because Dan didn't give me cover art in the folder, but because I forgot to download the folder again. So, nothing about this calls to me. In a week when we had Harrower and this Exo Man Award that's coming, yeah.
You give them books, you send them to school, and all they do is eat the pages. Download the covers.
The problem is that I have the Dropbox that we use saved on my laptop and my iPad. I don't use either of those here. So I have to figure out how to hook it up, because when I hook it up here at the office, it doesn't update every week. We went through that before. So I don't know what the problem is.
Or get Jay to do the layout.
Jay has enough other crap to do.
Like you don't?
Well, but I do this while you're doing your show at 5 o'clock generally. So he busy. The Armageddon game.
I'll go first with this one. I'll go first. I wish it hadn't taken so long to get to this point.
Book 20.
But now that we're here, I'm glad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad. I really like this one. Art's great. The story's really good. It's so much so that maybe if there would have been 2 or 3 issues and then this one, the Armageddon game would have been fire. It would have been fire to me instead of having to wait the 20 issues to get to something like this. Maybe when this thing gets collected and I read it all together instead of the inconsistent, every other week we're reading a different story kind of thing, maybe it'll fit a little bit better to me. But these last couple of issues of this have been really good. Does it make up for the fact that it took so long to get here? Not really, but it's super close. I really enjoyed this one.
I'm with you. I've just about hated this thing going up till now. There's been 1 or 2 episodes that have popped up, and they've been the ones that have been more focused on the single story than jumping all over the place, like the Casey Jones issue. This was really good. We focused on the characters. We had a single through-line story. It concluded some things. There's still a little mystery at the end, but everything about it was good. So, again, this is what they should have been doing the whole time instead of wasting our time with 19 other books that could have been done in 3, probably.
Yeah. I will definitely say this, and I'm in agreement. This is the best issue yet of the entire series. Karai is an extremely intriguing character to me. Colin, I'll post a question to you. Is like, is she normally this kind of twisty and mysterious and kind of awesome throughout the regular series, or is this the most they've really dug into her? Because I'm really liking what they're doing with her in this book.
Sometimes she feels a little bit like the puppeteer that's pulling the strings, and other times she feels like we need to put a female character here. It's not always great. It's not always good. I will say this, depending on who's writing and using Karai as a character, really does dictate the way it's written. You know, a Stephanie Phillips is like Eric Burnham, where they're using her really well. When some of the other people who write Turtles are writing her, they kind of focus on the big six, right? The Turtles, April, and Casey Jones. And these other characters just sort of exist in the ether. So I you know, that would be my point on this book, right? In my review is that I think it's a really great Karai story.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I would say this to IDW, I would say this to anyone at all associated with this series. Y'all, too long. Too long. Far too long. I feel like I became an old man reading this book, trying to defend the Ninja Turtles.
It feels like, and this isn't just with this series, but all of the Turtle stuff we've been reading since we started this show, it feels like it's gotten too big. Too many characters, too many global or citywide events. And these characters, I think, work better when it's more of a focused on them. You know, The Last Ronin is great, but you know, the normal Turtle series has been almost unreadable for me because there's just so many characters that look so similar. And, you know, I think they need to start telling more personal, boiled down stories with the Turtles instead of trying to do big global events.
All right, hear me out. And this is just a fan theory. I don't have any inside information. I wouldn't be shocked if the Turtles lose the Armageddon game. And they use this as an excuse to sort of stop doing a Turtles book for a minute and just focus on the Turtle stuff that Stan Sakai has coming from his imprint and Last Ronin.
That would actually make a lot of sense.
Just like they did with G.I. Joe, right? They stopped G.I. Joe for a minute and sort of allowed G.I. Joe to reset. It wouldn't shock me if they don't do that here. And as a Turtles fan, it will bum me out to not have a Turtles book a couple of times a month. But it will make me very happy if we get back to the quality of Turtles that we've had in the past. So,
speaking of quality,
yes.
That's his segue.
Are you telling me I need to get the Turtles #1 out of this box here that's next to me?
you could, or you could show the last book.
Oh, because I was going to say, I'll go first on the Exo Manowar.
Go ahead.
I don't care how good a story you write. If the art isn't there, I don't care. And there were times where I'm willing to chalk it up to a not great rendering on the PDF, where I couldn't tell what the hell was happening in a given panel. The art seemed too dark and a little blurry, and it wasn't ultra clear. Now, again, I may pick this book up in shops tomorrow because I'm going to buy the physical copy of this and flip through those panels and be like, oh, that's fire. But on the PDF, there were times where I'm looking at this going, this just looks like a black blob. And there's a guy's face in it.
That had to have just been your PDF because the art in this book is
We read
gorgeous.
the same PDF, Jay.
Well, maybe it's your eyes then.
Your iPad sucks.
Yeah.
Freaking Apple products.
Hey, Apple products run everything we do here. But what I'm saying is this, is the story was great. But if the art isn't better, when I buy the physical book, it's going to cause a problem for me.
Nah, this book was
And-
probably the best looking book art wise of the week for me. Granted, there's a lot going on the panels, so read the word bubbles and then really take in what's there, because it took me a second to realize that on a couple of them, it's actually almost the entire page that's art. And so looking, I was like, holy. It was like looking, what is the artist on the new Ronin series? Is it Philip? What's his name? I can't remember his name.
Camp?
On the yes,
Yeah.
it felt like that. How it's these big, intricate panels that he's doing on that. That's a lot of what it reminded me of. This story is good. This is my pick of the week. It is. I mean, if you aren't getting this, you have to go read this. I've got it on my pull, so I'm looking forward to picking it up either tomorrow or Thursday.
Yeah, I'm loving this series, and I love Liam Neeson.
Hey, me too.
Liam
Well, you
Sharp's
can like Liam Neeson.
I think what might also be messing up the PDF for you, Kyle, is the watermark.
Right. I'm willing to chalk this up to part of the problem I'm having is the PDF didn't load right, or it's a bad render on the PDF, or the watermark, or any of these things, right? So I'm going to withhold the judgment on that until I pick up the physical copy tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
This-
for me reading the preview, that was a problem.
Yeah, this feels like almost a directional change for the character. You know how every once in a while a comic will come along and everything you know about a character gets skewed a certain amount. You know, they expand on their history. It kind of feels like that with the fact that we're dealing with the Romans again, the natural enemy of the Visigoths, and I think Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad are just nailing it on this story, giving us a real good reason to follow our. I never get his name right. Ark.
Arc of Dacia.
Yeah, Arcadacia. So I am absolutely loving this, and I love Liam's art on it. I will probably pick it up as a trade, you know, and this with the bloodshot, the bloodshot stuff, and the Shadow Man stuff that's been coming out are just awesome. I wasn't that thrilled with the last Ninjak, but all the other stuff has been wonderful.
Yeah. Just giving you a hard time on the PDF. I know with the watermark and stuff, some things look kind of dark. Everybody, it's just get this book. If Valiant's only going to take one book for every couple of months and just do one book, just focus on one book, and it has this kind of quality, like Bloodshot, like the Shadow Man one, keep doing it that way. Keep doing it that way, because this book is excellent.
All right. So we only have a couple seconds. As always, this show is brought to you with no commercials by comicshoplocator.com. Head over to comicshoplocator.com and check out the stuff. We will see everybody next week or later on our other shows for other things. Stay tuned for Minute to Skim It, and we'll see you later.